Hi guys, welcome back to the grim darkness of Warhammer 40k. Today we're diving into the horrifying truth of being human in the Tow Empire. And trust me, it's far worse than you think. He wakes before the artificial dawn. The lamps that simulate sunrise hum to life across the habitation block, their sterile glow bleeding through the cracks of a metal shutter. There is no real sun here, only the calibrated light of the Tow, adjusted for optimal morale. The colony sky has long since been veiled by clouds of industry, the kind that stretch from horizon to horizon, a permanent bruise of progress. He sits on the edge of his bunk, boots waiting like loyal sentries at his feet. The walls around him are pale and clean, inscribed with soft glyphs of the greater good. The same mantra etched into every corridor, every machine, every beating heart that still dares to dream, serve with purpose, obey with clarity. Harmony through unity. He whispers the words without thinking. They come easily now, like breathing. In the next room, the broadcast chimes. A serene voice, ethereal, distant, almost divine, fills the block with morning instruction. Citizens of the Guela Sector 12, it says, your labor is the light that feeds the greater good. Today, like every day, we move closer to harmony. The workers respond in unison, a low, murmured, for the greater good, that ripples through the building like a sacred litany. He eats his rations slowly, processed protein, pale grey in colour, flavoured faintly with something chemical and sweet. The Tow say it is nutritionally perfect, efficient, balanced, optimised for human biology. He no longer remembers what real food tastes like. He tells himself that means progress. When the siren calls, he joins the river of bodies moving toward the transport trams. The people are silent, heads bowed. They wear identical uniforms of muted blue-grey, stitched with the sigil of the Tow Sept. Above them, hovering drones emit rhythmic tones, reminders of schedule compliance and proximity spacing. No one looks up. No one speaks out of turn. He has learned not to think too much. Thinking leads to questions, and questions lead to evaluation. Evaluation leads to re-education. It is better to serve. It is better to belong. The factory gates open like the jaws of a giant. Inside, the air is warm and metallic, thick with the hum of plasma welders and the scent of ozone. Thousands of human workers assemble components for Tow skimmers, guided by drone overseers whose optical lenses track every gesture. Efficiency metrics appear on floating hololiths above the production lines, fluctuating numbers that determine one's ration quality, sleeping quarters, and, in rare cases, the privilege of being recognized by the ethereals. He hums as he works. It is an old habit from before, when he still remembered the songs of old terror, songs his mother used to sing about oceans and open skies. Now the tune has changed. Now the words are not his own. Together we rise, together we serve, for the greater good. He sings it quietly, in rhythm with the pulse of the machines. At the midday interval, he gazes through the reinforced glass window. Beyond it, the Tow towers gleam, sleek and perfect, piercing the grey clouds like instruments of divine order. Between them, human tenements squat low to the ground, functional and forgotten. He tells himself that this is how it should be. The Tow are wiser, purer, more harmonious. Humanity has strayed too long in chaos. Perhaps this is salvation. Sometimes he dreams of the Imperium, those brutal conquerors from the old stories, who ruled through fear and flame. The Tow, by contrast, speak of unity and peace. Their drones do not beat him. Their ethereals do not shout. They smile, they promise, and in that gentleness lies something more terrifying than any lash. The shift ends. He files out with the others, the rhythm of their steps perfectly synchronized. Overhead, a hollow banner unfurls, showing a young Tow warrior raising a hand toward the light. The caption glows in 3 languages. Every soul that serves strengthens the greater good. He feels a flicker of pride, then shame for feeling proud, then nothing at all. That night, he returns to his quarters, reciting his daily affirmation before sleep. His voice is soft, almost tender. My life is not mine. My thoughts are not mine. All that I am belongs to the greater good. He lies down on the bunk. The lights dim to the soft blue of the Tow dusk. Somewhere in the distance, the factory hum continues, eternal and tireless, a lullaby of servitude. He closes his eyes. For a moment, he imagines the warmth of a real sun, the kind his ancestors once knew. But the thought fades quickly, swallowed by the quiet, perfect order of his world. He dreams of harmony. He dreams of peace. And when he wakes, He will smile again, because that is what good citizens do for the greater good. The morning begins like any other, an imitation of peace. Artificial sunlight blooms across the colony domes, painting the metallic streets in hues of false gold. Drones drift overhead, releasing vapor streams of sterilizing mist. The chime of compliance echoes through every corridor, a perfect cadence that keeps the rhythm of obedience alive. He walks to the factory gates with the same tired grace as always, boots striking the polished ferrocrete in time with the march of thousands. Each step is rehearsed, each gesture measured. The faces around him blur into one another, an ocean of grey eyes and grey uniforms, moving under the silent gaze of the tow overseers. And then, the voice. It cuts through the hum of machinery like a blade through glass. Calm, precise, yet impossible to ignore. Citizen designation 784 Human 7. You have been selected. The announcement reverberates from a hovering drone above the assembly line. Its lens focuses on him, a bright blue iris scanning his face with cold efficiency. The entire row of workers falls silent. The rhythmic clatter of the machines falters for half a heartbeat before recovering, as if the factory itself has drawn breath. He freezes, the wrench still in his hand. His throat tightens, a pulse of panic flickering behind the practiced calm. Selected. The word carries weight. It is not punishment. It is not reward. It is something else. The drone continues, its tone soft but absolute. You have been chosen to participate in the Ethereal Contribution Program. Report to Assembly Hall 9 at sundown. Your absence will be considered a failure of harmony. Then it rises back into the haze, its message delivered. The others avert their eyes. No one congratulates him. No one whispers. The silence that follows is worse than fear. It is ritual, a silence learned through generations of careful survival. He wants to ask what the contribution program means, but he already knows the shape of the answer. Those who are chosen rarely return. That evening, the sky bleeds violet behind the towers of the Tow Enclave. The banners of the greater good ripple gently in the synthetic wind, their fabric glimmering with the sigils of the ethereal caste. He follows the path marked by drones, each one pulsing with a soft blue glow. Assembly, Hall 9, looms ahead, a monolith of smooth white stone, its architecture too perfect to be human. A circular symbol crowns the entrance, a stylized sun surrounded by smaller orbs, each representing a race united under Tow rule. Humans are the smallest orb, the dimmest. He stands before the door, heart hammering beneath his uniform. A pair of Tow fire warriors watch from the entrance, impassive behind their helmets. Their pulse rifles rest across their chests, not raised, but not relaxed either. One of them gestures toward the doorway with a flick of his wrist. Enter. The ethereal awaits. Inside, the air feels cleaner. Too clean. The smell of machine oil and sweat that saturates the human sector is gone, replaced by a sterile scent of incense and ozone. A faint harmonic tone vibrates through the walls, resonating deep within his chest like a second heartbeat. In the center of the chamber stands an ethereal. He is taller than any Tow he has seen, draped in robes that shimmer faintly with threads of gold and silver. His skin is smooth, his expression calm, a face carved from serenity itself. But his eyes radiate something beyond comprehension. The ethereal speaks, and the air itself seems to still. Child of the Gwaela, he says, voice smooth as still water. You have been called to serve the greater good in a higher capacity. Your devotion has been noted. Your labor has brought harmony. Now, your essence will be given to strengthen our unity. The man bows instinctively, unsure if the gesture is his own or something conditioned into him. My essence, honored one? The ethereal smiles. It is a kind smile, the most terrifying kind. All living things are energy. Energy is service. The greater good is built upon the willing offering of the self. You, and others like you, shall be the bridge between your kind and ours. He doesn't understand. He wants to ask how, but the ethereal's gaze holds him still. There is warmth there, even affection, but behind it lies something vast, something that does not see him as a man, but as a component of an equation. Will I return? He asks quietly. The ethereal tilts his head slightly, as if pondering a question from a child. Return is a human word. In unity, there is no need to return. There is only continuation. You will not die. You will become part of something greater than flesh. The room feels smaller, the air thicker. He nods because that is what one does. That is what a good citizen would do. The ethereal gestures, and a tow attendant steps forward, placing a mark on his wrist, an intricate sigil glowing faintly in blue light. It pulses once, then fades into his skin. "Report tomorrow at dawn," says the attendant. "Bring nothing. Leave nothing unfinished." The man turns to leave. His legs feel heavy, his thoughts heavier still. Outside, the colony seems quieter than usual. The people avert their eyes as he passes. No one speaks his name. The walls themselves seem to whisper in the voice of the ethereal, soft and unending. To give is to serve. To serve is to exist. The greater good demands harmony. He returns to his quarters, sits on the edge of his bunk, and stares at his reflection in the dull metal mirror. The sigil on his wrist glows faintly, like a heartbeat. For a long time, he says nothing. Then, as the broadcast begins its nightly hymn, he forces the words through trembling lips. "For the greater good." But this time, the phrase does not comfort him. It echoes hollow in his mouth, a prayer recited to something that no longer feels divine. He lies down, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling as the lights dim. In the distance, a shuttle rises into the dark sky, vanishing among the clouds. He wonders if it carries the others who were selected, and somewhere deep within, a thought he cannot suppress begins to form, a thought dangerous enough to end him if spoken aloud. What if the greater good is not good at all? The next morning, the colony awakens under a shroud of grey. The light that passes for dawn feels weaker today, filtered through smog and metal like the dying breath of a star. The air vibrates faintly with the hum of generators, the distant drone of machinery that never sleeps. Nothing here ever truly sleeps. He walks the same path to the factory, but something feels different. It's in the silence. The rhythm of the crowd, once perfectly synchronized, has faltered by half a beat, as if every step hides hesitation. Eyes dart, not straight ahead but sideways, watching the shadows of their neighbors. The soft chime of the drones above still sings of efficiency and order, but beneath that mechanical music there lingers something new. Fear. He feels it, though no one will say it aloud. When he reaches the assembly line, his name has already been removed from the work roster. His console replaced by another worker, expression blank, hands trembling as they attach plasma couplings with nervous precision. He stands there a moment, uncertain. The new worker refuses to look at him. None of them do. The foreman drone glides toward him, scanning his wrist. Its lens flickers once, recognizing the faint blue mark branded into his skin. Citizen 7H4 Human 7. Temporary reassignment logged. Please clear the operational floor. He nods mechanically, stepping aside. No questions, no words. Questions are dangerous. Words are worse. As he walks away, he catches whispers between two older workers near the coolant station. Their voices are barely audible beneath the mechanical hum, their faces turned away from the ever-watching optics of the drones. "They said the last group went to the northern spire," one murmurs. "None of them came back." "You shouldn't speak that way," the other hisses, glancing around. "You'll bring the drones." "It's true. My sister, she was chosen last cycle. They said she'd be elevated, but her housing unit was cleared the next day. Everything scrubbed, like she never existed." He keeps walking, but the words cling to him like oil, heavy, unshakable. None of them came back. The ethereal's voice echoes in his mind, calm and perfect. "You will not die. You will continue." But what if continuation simply means disappearance? What if the greater good consumes rather than uplifts? He passes a propaganda mural painted across the wall. A serene depiction of human and toe hands, clasped beneath the radiant symbol of harmony. Beneath it reads the familiar line, "Every soul serves, every life strengthens unity." For the first time, the words do not comfort him. They feel like a warning. At the meal hall, he sits among the others. The air smells of sterilized food and quiet fear. No one speaks of the contribution program, yet every gaze seems drawn to the empty seats. 3 from their block are gone now. The benches they once filled have been erased from the attendance grid. He turns to the man beside him, a gaunt worker with grey skin and hollow eyes, old enough to remember the time before the tow came. The old man eats in silence, chewing slowly like every bite might be his last. Finally, he whispers, voice trembling, "Where do they take them?" The old man glances up, eyes darting to the corners of the ceiling where surveillance drones hang like metallic flies. Then, Barely moving his lips, he answers, "You don't want to know." "I need to," he insists softly. "They said I've been chosen." A shadow crosses the man's face. He leans closer, his voice thin as dust. "Then pray, boy. Pray that whatever they do to you is quick. The ethereals don't waste, they use. Everything, mind, flesh, memory. They say it's for harmony, but harmony is built on silence, and silence is bought with lives." Before he can respond, a drone emits a sharp tone overhead. The old man stiffens, lowers his gaze, and returns to eating. Conversation ends, swallowed by the mechanical hum. He leaves the hall with the taste of metal in his mouth and the echo of those words in his skull. They use everything. That night, sleep evades him. He lies on his bunk, staring at the ceiling as the colony lights dim from blue to black. Somewhere above, a broadcast begins. The voice of an ethereal, soft as silk, filling every chamber with the familiar prayer. Fear not selection. To give is to rise. Through unity, you shall transcend the burden of individuality. He turns his face away, pressing his hands to his ears, but the words seep through his fingers, echoing in his bones. Outside his window, a convoy of transport drones glides silently across the skyline, their lights blinking in perfect rhythm. Each one carries sealed containers marked only with the sigil of the ethereal caste. He tries to tell himself they hold tools, parts, or resources, but the part of him that still remembers what it feels like to hope knows better. He closes his eyes and whispers the mantra like a man drowning. For the greater good. The words used to steady him. Now they feel like shackles. In the stillness that follows, he realizes something horrifyingly simple. He doesn't believe anymore. Not truly. The faith that once filled his chest with purpose has become a hollow echo, an instinct of survival rather than conviction. He wonders how many others feel the same but pretend not to. How many recite the prayers each night, trembling in the dark, afraid that their thoughts will betray them before their tongues do. And for the first time since his birth on this world, he feels utterly alone. Outside, the factory hums on through the endless night, machines devouring the silence, the colony breathing in perfect mechanical rhythm. Yet somewhere, deep beneath that harmony, beneath the layers of obedience and chemical serenity, something begins to fracture. A small, invisible thing. A thought. What if the greater good is not harmony at all, but hunger? The question flickers and dies, buried beneath fear. But once born, such thoughts never truly vanish. They wait, like embers in ash, patient and enduring, until the wind of truth breathes life into flame. And though he does not yet know it, that flame has already begun to burn. The call comes before dawn. Not the soft hum of morning broadcasts, not the tranquil hymns of the ethereal's voice, but a harsher sound, a metallic clang that reverberates through the habitation blocks like a hammer striking the heart of the world. He wakes instantly, his body tense before his mind catches up. Outside his door, the corridor is already alive with motion. Footsteps, orders barked by metallic drones, the dull thud of boots against steel floors. The lights burn cold blue, far brighter than usual, flooding every corner with sterile clarity. There is no shadow left to hide in. Then comes the announcement. Selected citizens of the Guela workforce, report to Departure Zone 3. You have been called to serve in the Contribution Initiative. Delay is a disruption of harmony. The voice is smooth and serene, but beneath its calm tone lies something absolute, an authority that brooks no refusal. He rises in silence. His hands tremble as he gathers his uniform, folding it neatly even though his pulse races like a trapped animal. The mark on his wrist glows faintly in the artificial light, pulsing with a rhythm that feels like a heartbeat, but not his own. Through the thin walls, he hears others moving too. Whispers, quiet sobs stifled beneath trembling breaths, the sound of lives being packed away, of hope being muted before it can escape. Outside, the streets are lined with drones. Their lenses gleam in the fog, scanning the crowd of humans shuffling forward in silence. The air smells of oil and ozone and fear. Above, the sleek silhouettes of tow skimmers glide between the towers, their engines whispering softly like predators circling unseen. A Tow overseer stands at the intersection, tall, elegant, and utterly expressionless. His voice is translated through a hovering drone that amplifies every syllable into a perfect, emotionless harmony. Rejoice, citizens. You have been chosen for the highest honor, to strengthen the greater good through direct service. Your sacrifice is your immortality. No one rejoices. No one dares. He walks with the others toward the transport zone. The colony, once humming with its usual mechanical rhythm, now feels hollow, emptied of life. Along the path, propaganda hololiths display serene images of smiling humans working beside Tow, captions glowing beneath in 3 languages. Together we serve, together we ascend. The hololith flickers slightly, the projection glitching for half a second, just long enough for him to glimpse the ghost of another image beneath it. Rows of identical figures disappearing into the light. Then it stabilizes again, the illusion restored. The line of volunteers stretches for blocks, hundreds of them, men and women, young and old. Each wears the same blank uniform, the same faint blue mark on their wrists. Some hold small tokens from their quarters, a photo, a pendant, a scrap of fabric. But as they near the checkpoint, drones confiscate everything. Nothing personal is allowed on the journey to ascension. He feels the touch of a drone's cold claw as it scans him. A soft chime confirms his identity. Citizen 784 Human 7. Status, confirmed. Purpose, contribution. A subtle electric pulse flickers through his wrist at the confirmation, and for a moment, his body stiffens. An invisible tether syncing him to their network. At the loading platform, the air grows thicker. The transport ship towers above them, a vast, dark monolith of metal, its surface humming with the restrained energy of grav engines. It has no windows, only small, glowing sigils that pulse in rhythmic unison, like the heartbeat of a living thing. Guards line the ramp. Not Tow this time, but human auxiliaries. Men and women once like him, now clad in sleek armor of blue and white, their expressions vacant, their movements too smooth to be natural. Their eyes flicker faintly with subdermal implants. They watch the crowd without emotion. He recognizes one, a friend, or what remains of one. The man's face is the same, but the spark behind it is gone. His gaze passes over him without recognition. Only duty remains. They call it integration. The line moves forward. One by one, they step into the mouth of the ship, swallowed by the cold glow of its interior. A faint mechanical hymn plays over the intercom, a distorted version of the old ethereal prayer. The melody is slow, solemn, almost beautiful. All serve the greater good. All return to unity. All become one. He hesitates at the ramp. The worker behind him nudges his shoulder gently, whispering with cracked lips, "Don't stop." They watch. He forces himself to move. The metal beneath his boots vibrates softly, alive with power. As he crosses the threshold, he looks back once, toward the colony that raised him, the sky that never showed him the sun, the factory that consumed his years. It feels impossibly far away already. For a moment, he wonders if anyone will notice when he is gone, if his bunk will be cleaned, his name deleted, his existence erased like all the others before him. The thought should hurt. It doesn't. The fear is too vast to feel anything else. Inside, the air is cold and still. Rows of metal benches line the interior, each equipped with restraint harnesses. The walls pulse faintly with light. Not mechanical, not entirely natural either, but something in between. The scent of antiseptic burns his throat. A female voice, soft and gentle, flows from unseen speakers. You are about to begin your journey of transformation. Fear not, for the ethereals guide your path. Through your contribution, the greater good grows stronger. Someone in the back begins to sob quietly. Another tries to whisper a prayer. The human kind, the old kind. but the sound is drowned out by the hiss of hydraulics as the ramp begins to close. The last sliver of light from the outside world fades into darkness. He feels the engines come alive beneath him, a deep vibration rising from the core of the ship. The air trembles. The sound grows until it becomes the only thing he can hear. A low, thunderous hum that seeps into his bones. The restraints tighten around his chest. He grips the seat's edge, knuckles white, as the vessel lifts off. Gravity shifts, and for a fleeting moment, weightlessness washes over him. The strange, serene calm before terror reclaims its place. Outside, unseen through the armored hull, the colony shrinks to a spark against the vast canvas of the void. The ship tilts toward the black horizon, toward whatever destination awaits. He closes his eyes and whispers, voice hoarse, "For the greater good." But even as he says it, he no longer knows whether it is a vow or a curse. The engines roar, the stars vanish, and the last remnants of his world fall away behind him, devoured by the darkness ahead. There is no sky in the void, only the eternal hum of the engines and the whisper of distant machinery echoing through the hull. He has long since lost track of time. The journey has no days, no nights, only the endless vibration of the transport ship as it pierces through the blackness between stars. The air inside the vessel is dry and cold. It smells faintly of oil, sterilized metal, and the thin trace of fear that seeps from human skin when it has nowhere else to go. The passengers, hundreds of them, sit strapped into their harnesses, motionless as statues. They do not speak, they do not cry. They have learned that silence is safer than prayer. Every few hours, or perhaps days, the concept of rhythm has dissolved. The lights flicker, and a voice speaks from nowhere, the same voice that greeted them when they boarded. Calm, measured, almost tender. Citizens of the Gwela species, rejoice. You are approaching the threshold of purpose. Through unity, through service, through contribution, you shall transcend. Each time the voice sounds the same, perfectly identical, as though time itself were looping. The words settle over them like frost. He tries to remember the world he left behind, the colony beneath its shroud of smog, the grey towers of his factory, but memory begins to betray him. The faces blur, the voices fade. Only the ethereal's eyes remain clear in his mind, serene, all-seeing and infinite. Sleep comes in fragments. In the half-dream, he feels movement, the sensation of falling upward, of being pulled through unseen layers of gravity and light. He wakes to find the ship still humming, the world still metal. Then, one cycle later, or maybe 100, the vibration changes. The pitch deepens. A shudder ripples through the cabin. The drones that hover along the aisles flare with light, and the voice returns, softer now, as if speaking directly into their bones. Arrival sequence initiated. Prepare for transition. The greater good welcomes you to a new horizon. A low tremor builds beneath their feet. The air pressure shifts. Gravity reasserts itself, heavy and alien. Somewhere beyond the walls, something vast is pulling them downward. Through a small observation slit in the bulkhead, he sees it for the first time. The planet. It glows faintly against the void, a sphere of grey and silver wrapped in clouds that swirl like ash. From orbit, it looks almost beautiful until the details sharpen. Vast industrial spires stretch from its surface like jagged spears. Rivers of molten metal glow crimson between them, veins of industry pulsing in the dark. No oceans, no forests, no softness, only the cold geometry of creation and consumption. The Tow call it Kelshan Tertiary Forge. To them, it is a marvel of unity, a living machine devoted to production and perfection. To human eyes, it looks like damnation wearing the mask of order. As the ship descends, the sky outside churns with artificial storms. Lightning flickers through clouds thick with soot and chemical vapor. Beneath the haze, he glimpses the lights of endless factories, glowing like constellations inverted. Stars trapped beneath the surface instead of above it. The hull creaks. The temperature rises. The voice of the ethereal continues, serene even as the engines scream. You enter a world of harmony. Here, every motion serves the greater good. Every thought feeds purpose. Every sacrifice sustains the whole. The words dissolve into static as the ship pierces the smog layer. The sky turns a strange shade of green-grey, illuminated by the glow of plasma furnaces that stretch to the horizon. It is not sky at all, but the reflection of light off particulate clouds, an illusion of color painted by pollution. He catches a glimpse of the Tow City below. It is immense beyond imagination, layered in perfect concentric rings, each section dedicated to a different caste. At the center, a tower rises higher than any mountain, crowned with the symbol of the ethereals. Around it, smaller spires pierce the haze, each pulsing with energy, conduits that shimmer like veins of light through the industrial gloom. The human sectors are at the edges. Of course, squat, grey blocks barely visible beneath the radiance of Tow architecture. Their design is purely functional, shelter without comfort, purpose without beauty. The ship lands with a deep metallic groan. The restraints unlock with a soft click, and the drones begin herding the passengers toward the exit ramp. When the door opens, heat slams into him like a living thing. The air is thick, heavy, metallic. It burns the throat when breathed too deeply. Overhead, mechanical cranes move in slow, deliberate arcs, carrying enormous containers across the landing zone. Their movements are almost graceful, choreographed precision born from inhuman control. The sky above is no longer a color he recognizes. It shifts between copper and gray, shot through with the glow of plasma forges. There is no sun, only the constant flicker of light, artificial, eternal. Around him, hundreds of humans step forward in silence, shielding their eyes from the brightness. A few stumble, disoriented by the gravity. The drones correct them with brief electrical pulses. No words, no explanations. A Tow officer stands at the base of the ramp, flanked by 2 fire warriors. His armor gleams under the strange light, polished to mirror-like perfection. He holds a data slate, scanning each human as they pass. His voice, though translated, carries the same serene conviction as all Tow speech. Welcome, servants of the greater good. Your purpose begins here. You will be guided, sheltered, and honored through service. Behind him, rows of white transport skimmers await, engines humming quietly. The humans are divided into groups and ushered inside. He watches as the drones separate individuals from the crowd. Those who are too old, too weak, too sick. They are led through a different gate, toward a smaller facility with no visible exit. The others pretend not to see. Pretending is survival. As his group boards the skimmer, he looks once more toward the horizon. The city stretches endlessly, a labyrinth of towers, pipes, and smoke. Beyond it, faint blue lights flicker like stars trapped beneath. The clouds, the heart of the Tow industrial machine. He wonders if this is what paradise looks like to them. A world so perfectly controlled that even the wind obeys. Inside the skimmer, the seats are cold metal. The drones instruct them to fasten restraints again. The vehicle rises smoothly, joining a stream of others gliding through the haze. Through the window, he sees the landscape shift. Endless conveyor lines, refineries, foundries, all moving in coordinated harmony. Everything built, everything ordered, everything enslaved. He feels a strange, hollow awe. This is not chaos. This is not cruelty as humanity once knew it. This is something colder, purer, the mathematics of obedience. The skimmer banks toward a distant facility surrounded by walls of white alloy. Blue banners flutter from its towers, marked with the sigil of the ethereal caste. The voice of the attendant drone hums softly through the cabin. Welcome to your new home. Here, you will serve the greater good through transformation and purpose. He doesn't ask what transformation means. He doesn't have to. Outside, the smog thickens again, swallowing the light. The horizon fades, the stars are gone. And in their place, the machines sing. A low, endless song of steel and smoke, the hymn of a world that has forgotten what it means to breathe. The skimmer lands with the softness of a whisper. Its engines sigh, exhaling heat and the faint scent of ozone. The doors open to reveal a facility carved from polished white alloy. Smooth, seamless, as though grown rather than built. The light here is colder than outside, filtered through panels that glow an unearthly shade of blue. It is a light without warmth, pure and indifferent. They are herded down a corridor wide enough for tanks, yet silent enough to feel like a tomb. The walls hum with unseen energy, faintly pulsing with a rhythm that mirrors a heartbeat. The same rhythm as the mark on his wrist. Every few meters, inscriptions in Tow script glimmer faintly along the walls. Mantras of unity, devotion, purpose. Harmony is the highest form of freedom. All service is sacred. The individual is the shadow of the collective. The words repeat like echoes in his skull. The humans are brought into a large chamber, circular, high-ceilinged, filled with rows of benches arranged in perfect concentric rings. There are hundreds of them now, perhaps thousands, all wearing the same grey uniforms, all marked with the faint blue sigil of selection. For the first time since his capture, he hears human voices again, quiet, uncertain, but unmistakably alive. The sound feels strange, almost forbidden. He finds a place among them, sitting beside a woman with tired eyes and grease-stained hands. A mechanic, perhaps, or a ship engineer. Her fingers twitch unconsciously, as if still assembling imaginary machines. She catches him looking and offers a faint smile, the kind one gives to a stranger on the edge of despair. "First time?" she asks softly. He nods. "Yes. Don't worry," she says, though her voice trembles. "They say it's an honor, a higher calling." She glances down at the mark on her wrist and traces its glow with her thumb. "That's what they told me anyway. I fixed transports for them for years. Never thought they'd pick me for anything more than a wrench," he almost replies, but stops himself. They say, a few rows ahead, a man in tattered fatigues sits perfectly upright, posture rigid, head held high. The markings on his sleeve have long faded, but the way he moves, disciplined, controlled, betrays his origin. A soldier, he speaks in a voice low but steady, the kind of voice that once gave orders. "We serve, and that's enough." The Tow brought peace. No more wars. No more Imperium. A murmur of agreement passes through some of the others. They cling to the idea like a lifeline, as if belief itself might shield them from whatever comes next. But behind the soldier's conviction, there's something else. A flicker of doubt too small to admit, too dangerous to name. A young farmer beside him nods eagerly. "Where I'm from, the Tow built irrigation domes, gave us tools, education. They said we were equals under the greater good." He pauses, glancing around as if searching for reassurance. "I think this is part of that, right? Some kind of new beginning?" No one answers him. The engineer beside him lowers her head. "Maybe," she whispers, "but I've never seen anyone come back from a new beginning." Hours pass, or maybe only moments. Time here is strange. Stretched thin, pulled taut by fear and uncertainty. Eventually, the chamber doors open with a hiss, and a figure enters. A Tow of the Earth caste, flanked by floating drones. His skin is pale grey, his eyes almost luminous in the sterile light. He wears no weapon, but his presence silences the room. He begins to speak, his voice translated by a hovering drone that emits a soft, melodic hum. "Humans of the Gwela species, you have been chosen not because you are many, but because you are few who understand purpose. The greater good requires sacrifice, not of death, but of self. You will aid in the creation of a unified consciousness, one beyond race, beyond flesh. You shall be vessels of harmony." The words wash over them, too smooth, too practiced. They are crafted not to be understood, but to be accepted. The engineer leans closer to him, whispering, "Vessels of harmony." What does that even mean? He doesn't answer. He doesn't know. The Tow continues, walking slowly around the circle of benches. "Fear not. The ethereals guide your path. You will know peace. You will know unity. You will become part of something eternal." He pauses before the soldier, who sits perfectly still. Their eyes meet for a moment. The Tow's calm, unblinking gaze against the soldier's sharp, human defiance. Then the Tow inclines his head slightly. "The warriors of your kind fought bravely once. Now you fight. The nights on Kelshan Tertiary Forge are endless. There is no true darkness here, only the faint glow of industry. A pallid, artificial twilight that seeps through the cracks of every wall. The factories hum without pause, their mechanical hearts beating in rhythm with the pulse of the planet itself. Even in sleep, the machines do not rest, neither do the humans." He lies awake in his bunk, the metallic hum vibrating through the floor beneath him. Around him, hundreds of others breathe in uneasy unison. The sleeping quarters are vast, lined with rows of identical cots, each one perfectly spaced, each bearing the same pale grey blanket and the same faint scent of disinfectant. The air tastes like copper and dust. Every few hours, The voice of an ethereal echoes faintly from distant speakers, calm, steady, and impossibly gentle. Harmony brings purpose. Purpose brings peace, sleep, and serve the greater good. The words flow through the room like incense, dulling thought, quieting the restless. Some repeat the mantra softly before closing their eyes. Others stare upward in silence, lips trembling but unmoving. He does not repeat the words tonight. The sound of them no longer brings comfort. It brings only questions. After what might be midnight, he hears a whisper. "You're still awake." The voice comes from the bunk above his, gravelly, low. A voice that's carried orders before, used to command, now reduced to murmurs in the dark. He recognizes the tone instantly. The soldier from the orientation chamber. He answers quietly. "Yes." The bunk above creaks as the old soldier shifts. "Good. Means your mind's still your own." A pause follows, long enough for the hum of distant machinery to fill the silence between them. "You've started thinking about what they're really doing here, haven't you?" He hesitates. "I don't know what you mean." The old soldier chuckles softly, but there's no humor in it. "That's what I said too. The first time I saw one of their ascension halls." The younger man sits up slightly, his pulse quickening. "You've seen them?" The soldier lowers his voice, barely more than a breath. "Saw. Once, during the occupation of my homeworld. Back then, I was part of the auxiliary, trained under their fire warriors. They said they needed us to help with the re-education of new recruits. Said it was about unity and mutual trust." He pauses, the words hanging heavy in the air. "But what I saw wasn't trust." The hum of the machines outside feels louder now, like the planet itself is listening. "What did you see?" the younger man asks. A long silence, then softly, rows of our people, strapped to tables, wires in their heads, drones monitoring brainwaves. They said they were aligning neural frequencies for cooperative behavior, building harmony between species. He lets the words sink in before adding, almost gently, "That's what they call it. Harmonization." "But we had another name for it." The old man's tone changes, the weight of years pressing through every syllable. "We called it erasure." The younger man feels a chill crawl up his spine despite the heat of the facility. "But why?" "The toe. They said we were allies, equals." The soldier laughs again, dry and bitter. "Equals?" He spits the word like poison. "We're not equals. We're tools of compliance. That's what they call us in their data sheets. I saw it with my own eyes before they wiped the servers." He shifts, leaning closer to the edge of his bunk. His voice drops lower, to a whisper that barely exists. "We're not partners in the greater good, boy. We're its proof, its instruments. They use us to show their people how merciful they are, how the toe can uplift the primitive races without killing them outright. But we're not uplifted. We're edited. We're shaped to fit their harmony." The younger man swallows hard. The words feel wrong, heretical even to think. "You're saying they control our minds?" The soldier shakes his head slowly. "No, worse, they don't need to. They just build a world where obedience feels like virtue. You wake up, you work, you repeat their prayers until the words lose meaning. And by then, you've forgotten what meaning even was. That's how they win." A silence settles again. Outside, somewhere far away, a klaxon wails, a sharp metallic cry quickly silenced. The colony returns to its rhythmic hum. He stares at the ceiling, his mind a storm. "If that's true," he whispers, "then why keep us alive?" The soldier's answer is immediate, because the toe don't waste. Dead men build nothing, but compliant ones? They build empires. The conversation should have ended there. It doesn't. Over the following days, whispers spread through the barracks, faint, uncertain, like static in the air. Rumors of disappearances, of corridors sealed at night, of faint screams echoing through the ventilation shafts. No one dares speak openly, but the silence itself begins to fracture. One morning, the engineer from before, the woman with grease-stained fingers, leans close to him as they queue for rations. "They say the ones who vanish aren't dead," she murmurs. "They're integrated, fused into machines. You've seen the drones, haven't you? How they move. Too fluid for pure AI, too aware." He looks at her, horrified. "You think they're..." "I think they used to be people." A pause. Her gaze hardens. "Maybe that's the greater good. A galaxy where no one remembers who they were." The line shuffles forward. The drones watch them closely, scanning for irregularities, for tremors of dissent. Each person accepts their ration without a word, but he can see it now. The unease behind their eyes, the cracks beneath the calm. They're all thinking the same thing. The greater good isn't a promise. It's a cage made of faith, and the bars are invisible because they've been built inside the mind. That night, he lies awake again. The hum of the planet feels heavier now, like a pulse counting down to something inevitable. Above him, the old soldier's breathing is slow and steady, but even in the rhythm of it, he hears exhaustion, defeat, and something else. Defiance buried so deep it no longer remembers what victory means. He whispers into the dark. If they come for us, will we fight? The soldier exhales, a sound halfway between a sigh and a laugh. Fight. No, that's not how we survive anymore. We endure, we remember, and when the time comes, he trails off, then finishes quietly. We die knowing the truth, and maybe that's the last freedom they can't take. The lights dim to the pale blue of simulated dusk. Somewhere beyond the walls, the ethereal's voice returns. The same voice, the same words, repeated every night since their arrival. Peace is unity. Unity is perfection. Perfection is service. For the greater good. The others murmur the phrase in unison, their voices blending into a low, hypnotic chant. But this time he cannot bring himself to speak it. The words feel foreign now, a script written by another species, one that does not understand what it means to have a soul. He turns on his side, eyes open to the ceiling's pale glow. The hum of the machines fills the silence once more, steady and eternal. The sound of a world where obedience has replaced thought. And yet, beneath it all, faint but growing, there's another sound. A whisper, a question, something human. What if the greater good was never meant for us at all?